Durant pull-up jumper off the rim and in. Oh! And the Thunder win! All right, come on, let's sing the Thunder song.
Wait.
When you hear the sound of thunder, don't you get too scared. Just grab your Thunder buddy and say these magic words.
Hello, and welcome back to another edition of the Thunder Buddies podcast, Summer League edition. Darnell down in Orlando. How is it down there? Sunny? I'm assuming summer in Orlando.
Yeah, sunny, humid, but overall it's pretty pleasant.
What's like the degrees, like temperature? You hitting the hundreds down there, or is it just humid?
No, it's not that hot. It's really only about probably 80, 85 degrees, but it feels closer to 100 at times when you walk out with the humidity. This Florida humidity is no joke.
No.
But it's nice, you know. I mean, the evenings are pleasant, and then it rains on and off throughout the day. I mean, it can be sunny 1 minute, and then the next second, you know, it's a thunderstorm,
Downpour,
and then 10 minutes later, it's sunny again. So that helps cool it off a little bit.
You make a trip out to Universal Studios yet?
No, I got no time. No time deadline is.
You might have time today. Thunder not playing today.
No, I got no time. I still got to write for tomorrow, and I'm trying to catch Brazil, Germany at 3:00 Eastern, 2:00 Oklahoma time.
You got soccer fever?
I wouldn't say I got soccer fever, but you know we're getting closer and closer to deciding this thing. So I got interested when who did USA lose to? I forget already. Belgium, yeah. That match, that was a pretty entertaining match.
Yeah.
All
USA games were pretty entertaining. The Germany one wasn't really, but the first two were.
The first half didn't do a lot for me, but then the second half, you know, I was on the edge of my seat, and then obviously extra time when we lost soon into extra time, you know, that was heartbreaking. But I was on the edge of my seat, man. I mean, that thing was really exciting, entertaining soccer, I thought. So I'm not that I'm an expert or anything, but it had me on the edge of my seat.
Yeah. Last thing before we talk hoops, Tim Howard is a beast. He was a beast in that game.
Yes, he was, and I felt bad for him because it looked like he didn't have any help.
Yeah.
You know, it looked like he was kind of out there on an island by himself. His defense wasn't really helping him out. I mean, the Belgian players were just kind of, you know, taking shots on goal at will, and then the U.S. offense wasn't doing anything. I mean, they could barely put pressure on the Belgians. So you know, I just felt bad for him. He played a heck of a game, and you know, obviously he came up short, but it was no fault of his.
Well, that's a lot of football talk for our podcast. Probably more than the listeners want. We should talk Summer League. You want to start Summer League or you want to start free agency?
We should talk Mitch McGary.
Well, I mean, if it was up to you, we'd probably dedicate this whole podcast to him. We may dedicate this whole podcast to him.
Hey, he earned it. He earned 18 and 13 in his second game. Hey, did Stone Cold, your boy, ever have 18 and 13 in a Summer League game last year?
No, but he had 17 and 10 in his third NBA game against Drummond and Monroe.
There's still time.
Yeah, we'll see.
Talk to me in November.
I will be talking to you in November when he's getting 5 minutes off the bench, maybe.
Okay. You know how last year when we start throwing out numbers, over-unders.
I mean, we'll see. I mean, we got to see how he does in preseason and stuff, but calm down. Yeah, you go 18 and 13. He looked good. Look, don't get me wrong. He looked really good.
Mitch McGary yesterday looked better than Steven Adams did at any point in Summer League last year. And Steven Adams looked good in Summer League last year.
Yeah, but, I mean, Steven Adams completely raised his game and surprised people in the preseason and then season and then moving on. So what you're saying is, are you about to react so much that you're going to say that Mitch McGary is about to have a better rookie season than Steven Adams just did?
I'm not going to say – well, first of all, they're different players.
Yeah.
So for him to have a better season, it's going to come in a different way. And I think he definitely could have a better season if it's – I mean, he needs the minutes. And just like I didn't think Steven Adams was going to get the minutes, I really don't think Mitch McGary is going to get the minutes. But if he did get the minutes, I think he could go in and really contribute. And this isn't like an overreaction to Summer League. If you remember, Slater, I was high on him as a draft pick.
Yeah.
I didn't like where they took him. I thought they could have moved back and got him maybe at 29. A part of me still thinks that they could have gotten him at 29. But with that being said, I always thought he was a fantastic pick.
Yeah.
And I never bashed Sam Presti and the Thunder for taking him. I just questioned whether or not they could get him later. Now, the guy is a fantastic player. As you know, I was high on him before the draft. I was high on him after they drafted him.
You were high on him high on him when he committed to Michigan. Once he, donned the blue, you were sold. Could have been me at Michigan. You'd been arguing for me.
Go blue, baby. Go blue. All I'm saying is this isn't an overreaction to one game or 2 games that he's now played at Summer League. So, I mean, we've known that he's talented. We've known that he's got versatility, a wide array of skills. And so I think what we saw yesterday was just confirmation that, he can do it at this level. Obviously, it's Summer League, and it's going to be a big difference doing it in NBA games. But he showed flashes yesterday of being able to do a lot of different things. And I think anybody who's excited about him is right to be excited about Mitch McGary at this point.
No doubt, but I got a question. Regular season time comes around and he snatches one of those rebounds and then he starts trying to rumble on the fast break by himself. What kind of look is Russell Westbrook giving him when Mitch McGary, the rookie, is trying to run the break?
Hey, Mitch talked about that a little bit yesterday. The 3-pointers that he's been shooting, he shot 2 in his last 2 games. He's trying to dribble it on the break. He said he don't think that's going to fly when he gets with the main guy. So he knows. He's just coming out here and doing some things to try to really work on his game and show what he can do. I don't think he's under any sort of false pretense that he's going to be able to do that with the Thunder.
No. But I will say he has impressed me. He's looked better than I thought he was going to. He's big. I mean, obviously knew he was big, but I mean, you could tell he sticks out there. Can dribble. He's been doing between the leg move. He can pass a little bit better than I thought he could.
Let me say this. Did you see that one where he kind of got double or triple teamed and like these guards would come in swiping at the ball and he used an escape dribble, pulled it out, then went between his legs? You remember that one?
Yeah. I think he went through his legs twice.
Tell me he didn't look like Blake Griffin dribbling the ball on that possession.
A little bit. Blake's obviously more smooth and just looks explosive while he's doing anything. And McGary's still kind of bigger, a little bit slower. But yeah, I mean, I can see what you're saying. Blake does love those little between the leg moves. But
jump on the bandwagon, Slater. I'm telling you, while there's still time, you better get on.
I'm on the bandwagon as he's going to be a solid role player into the future. We'll see. I mean, I'm not. Hey, how about Stone Cold? You want to talk about looking good? I thought he looked really good the first couple games.
Yeah, he wasn't bad. I mean, I like the little jump hook he showed.
Yeah.
He finished with his left and right, and he's obviously still out there banging and frustrating guys, so that's not changed. But the surprise so far is that, when it comes to Steven Adams, is that they're saying that they're working on his post game.
Yeah.
And I didn't think that they would try to work on that this early in his carear.
I think he's shown that. I mean, they need to. He looks like he could be potentially.
Well, he's still got some work to do. You know what I mean?
No doubt.
He's got some skills. There are tools there, but I think he's a long way away from being able to become a reliable post presence where you can just dump it to him and say, "Hey, go get us some points."
No doubt. But I'm
just
saying,
his free throw shooting. I mean, he hasn't been bad down here so far, but it's still hit or miss. And
yeah,
I don't think that if you dump it to him and he gets fouled, then he's not a reliable free throw shooter. He shot like 58% from the line last year, so I think he's got to really shore that up before you can rely on him in the post.
I agree, but I just think he's progressed so quickly with everything else, and he's gotten to a level that I don't think they even thought he could get to as quick as he did, that they're, why not throw more stuff at him? Maybe he'll surprise us. Maybe he'll keep, rapidly getting better in the post. We'll see. He's so physical. I mean, is he not the most physical player in the Summer League?
Yeah, that's kind of a running joke on Press Row down here is that, Steven Adams, they need to just take him out the game. He's going to get somebody hurt. But that's how he plays. And, other writers, other teams look at him and they act like he's doing something wrong. It's just funny because the first game I was sitting next to Ron Tillery, the Memphis Grizzlies beat writer, and he was talking about how Zach Randolph is still pissed off at Steven Adams.
Yeah.
Tony Allen, whatever Steven Adams did.
Remember Tony Allen went on the radio and was just ripping him. Memphis radio. I guess Memphis hates him.
Yeah. But, and I thought Steven Adams made a great point. I don't know if it was his exit interview. I think it was his exit interview. All he heard about coming into the league was how physical it is.
Yeah.
How guys are just so much bigger, stronger, athletic. They're going to punish you with their physicality.
I believe the quote was, they're going to punch you in the face.
Yeah, so he's like, okay, I got to get prepared for this. And then he gets prepared for it. He plays physically, and then people can't take it. Like, to me, that's just ridiculous. Yeah. Everybody's talking about how physical the league it is, and then now everybody's complaining that Steven Adams is too physical. That makes no sense.
It's a good quality. I mean, obviously it's going to tick other people off who are going against it, but that's what makes him such a kind of a special talent, I think. Just the way he plays, the way he just boxes people out, gets rebounds. Did you see that when he just tossed a guy into the chairs? Did you see that?
He tossed somebody in a chair?
Yeah, I put it out on like a Vine. There was just a box out, and he just throws somebody into the chairs. Looked like a Stone Cold wrestling move.
Was it Darnell Stokes from Tennessee?
No, it was the second game.
'Cause that's a big old boy.
I know, but yeah, apparently Stokes was talking about Adams a little bit. But no, it was the second game against the Sixers. I can't remember who it was. Go to Vine. I know you got Vine.
Yeah, I got Vine. But that was impressive, man. Stokes isn't but about 6'5", 6'6", but he's like 250, 260, and he's a real thick dude. He's real chunky, and he was bullying people at Tennessee.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he couldn't hold his position against Steven Adams.
Yeah.
That to me was impressive, and it just showed you how strong your boy Stone Cold is, because he was just tossing him around like a rag doll and getting wherever he wanted on the low block, getting position, and putting himself in spots to be able to catch on the block and either orchestrate some offense or go into a post move. So I was really impressed with Steven Adams and his strength.
Yeah, you mentioned Stokes. That's his calling card. That's the only way he may make the league is if he can keep doing that Zach Randolph type of game, which I think he's a little too short. But after the game, you're talking about Ronald Tillery. He tweeted out, Darnell Stokes said, I can see why a lot of people don't like him. He definitely plays physical. So I think that tells you a lot about Adams. But, all right, my man crush down. Yours is down. We've talked about both of them. Let's move on. Jeremy Lamb, 26 points last night, but was it an impressive 26 points to you?
The second half was more impressive than the first half. I thought he got better as the game went on. I thought he really settled in. But I'm going to tell you, Jeremy Lamb is out here chucking, man. He's not shy. He's letting it fly, and he's not taking a lot of good shots. So overall, I wasn't really impressed with the 26. I thought Mitch McGary carried them in that win.
Mitch McGary was the better player yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. He didn't have the better numbers, but 18 and 13 was, I thought, more impactful than Jeremy Lamb's 26 and 8 rebounds. So just because he's shooting too much. Like, I'd like to see him. Perry Jones had a quote for me, and I wrote about him in today's paper. He had a quote where he said, just because it's summer ball, he's not going to come out here and just try to jack up shots and basically not take it seriously. Jeremy Lamb looks like, I'm not going to say he's not taking it serious, but he looks like he knows that he's better or more talented than a lot of these guys out here, and so he's really taking it upon himself to go out there and carry the offensive load. Now, in his defense, if he doesn't score, who else will? We saw that in the second game when both Jeremy and Mitch set, and you got Josh Eustace and Andre Robertson out there, and the Thunder scored, 53 points or something like that. So, I can't hate on him. I can't fault him too much, but I think he does need to look for better shots.
Yeah. I think this is the most telling stat. Remember last year, he'd have games where he'd had 5 assists or, he really flashed some in little brief spurts where he wasn't playing that many minutes. He'd have, a good amount of assists. He had 1 assist last night, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players on his team had more assists than him. He should be leading this team in assists in the summer league. He should be playmaking a little bit more, but he's kind of just chucking.
Yeah, the Thunder doesn't really have a playmaker on this team. I mean, Samaje Christian is sort of. He looks like what'd you call him?
I said he's shoot first.
Yeah, he's shoot first. I mean, he looks like he's willing to get some people involved, but like it's not his first option.
Yeah,
he's trying to score. Mario Little, man, I'm sitting there watching Mario Little last night, and like this dude was 0 for 6, and he just kept chucking. He ended up finishing with 4 threes. But like every time it went to Mario Little, you knew it was going up. And I'm like, I gotta go watch this guy in Tulsa just for the sheer entertainment factor because like this dude never met a shot he didn't like. So it's a bunch of guys like Robertson and Houston are the only 2 guys on the team that seem to be willing passers just because they're not looking to score.
Yeah,
everybody else is looking.
There's a
to
reason
score.
they're willing passers.
Yeah.
Okay, I got it. Isaiah Thomas has been on the broadcast basically just killing the Thunder for resting players. And, he went a little over the top with it, like really didn't understand why Jeremy Lamb, sat today or this or that. But I don't understand, like yesterday, Adams, Kristen, Eustace, Perry Jones, and Andre Robertson all sit. I mean, if you're worried about your organization long term, don't you want to play at least a few of those guys? Why there shouldn't be minutes where Michael Stockton and whoever F. Edwin is are on the floor.
Slater, are you sick?
A little bit.
What do you got? Cold?
I don't know. I mean, 4th of July weekend, man.
You went a little too hard, huh? You got to slow down, man. You're not as young as you used to be.
I'm not as young as I used to be, man. I'm struggling over here.
We got to do a podcast here, man. You're coughing up a lung over there.
No,
hey,
but I mean,
take you some medicine. I hope you feel better. I don't mind the sitting. I mean, the guys are only sitting 1 game.
I know, but like yesterday, you sit 5 of your main guys, and then you're playing all these guys that have 0 chance of ever making an NBA roster.
Here's the thing. First of all, it's 2 things in play. The Thunder, I was told, coming in the Summer League, nobody was going to play in 3 straight games. Okay, so that's just whether you like it or not. No, and when I saw who played in the second game, I'm like, wow, they're either going to have to sit a ton of people in the third game or go against whatever they said they were going to do coming in, which is not play anyone 3 straight games. And sure enough, they set a ton of their, principal players out here in the third game on Monday. So they're sticking to their plan, and I can't fault them for that. They don't want these guys playing 3 straight games and 5 games in however many days. So, but at the same time, on the flip side, they're young players. They're 21, 22 years old. They can handle it. I mean, they just got out of college and Big Ten tournaments and ACC tournaments, to where they just did it, same sort of format. So I'm sure they can handle it. It's not like they're 34 years old and got a lot of wear and tear. But the second thing is guys like Michael Stockton and Lewis and Ron Anderson. So those guys, they signed up to play with the Thunder, not just to be on a team. They want to get some minutes, and I think the Thunder is trying to be fair to those guys and let them get some exposure, and not just give all the minutes to Samaje Christian or Jeremy Lamb. No one would want to come and play for your team if they knew that you're just going to give the minutes to the guys who are going to be on the team next year. So I think the Thunder's also trying to be fair to those guys, which I think is respectable. It's
respectable, I mean, in some ways, but, how about you just do give all your minutes to players that potentially can make the roster, and then, fill the rest of your roster out with whoever just wants to be on a summer league roster. Okay, Stockton or Anderson, you can go play somewhere else, but, we're trying to build, this. So, we're trying to build to the future. So, sorry, we're going to have to play Steven Adams 30 minutes. We're going to have to, play Samaje Christian to see what he can do. Play him every game. Play him 30 minutes. that's just how I'd almost expect it. But whatever. It's summer league.
Well, here's the thing, and I mean we're recording this on Tuesday. They got a day off. They got 2 more games. They'll play Wednesday and then the final day on Friday, the championship day. I'd be surprised if we see Michael Stockton take the court again. I mean, let's just be real about it. They gave him an opportunity. He came in. He did some good things.
He had 5
assists. Unless it's a blowout one way or the other, I don't think he's going to play much in the last 2 games. So, they gave him an opportunity, and, he did well. He got a little exposure. There's a bunch of European scouts here. He might have made himself some money yesterday. So, we'll see. I thought they did him well.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, that's how they operate. It's just, it's tough when we're watching summer league and you're, especially like late in the third quarter or late in the first quarter, and you're out there like, is there any point in me watching this? I'm basically watching a Tulsa 66ers game. It's just not telling me anything.
Yeah, and the other thing about that, one last thing, is that they're also practicing. They're practicing out here. They practice in the days, I think, 3 times leading up to the summer league. So, the guys who really need it, they're going to get some exposure. I mean, they're going to get some practice or some reps in practice and some opportunities in practice to develop just like they would in the game. So, and those same guys that we're talking about that really need it and are going to be on the team, well, guess what? They're going to be with Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant, and they're going to be in practice with those guys, Reggie Jackson, Serge Ibaka. So, they're going to get plenty of opportunities to develop. It's not just going to come in, a week of summer league. They're going to have practice opportunities. They're going to have opportunities to go play in Tulsa. There's plenty of ways that the team can develop guys, not just this 1 week of summer league.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's move on to a few other guys. You wrote about Perry Jones today. He has been impressive in spurts. It seems like he's come out aggressive in games and then kind of just tails off a little bit. But you seem to be impressed with what he's doing. Would you call him a completely different player?
A bit of an exaggeration.
Yeah.
I was trying to sell it a little bit. I was trying to sell it a little bit. Attention grabber. That's what we do as writers. We try to grab your attention with that first line.
You're trying to get it with the New York Daily News.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. The New York Post. I wasn't trying to sensationalize it, but I do think that he looks from an energy level standpoint, from an assertiveness standpoint. I do think he looks completely different in that sense. We haven't seen that in 2 years with the Thunder. He's had some good moments, but he's really been playing hard for his entire time on the court out here. And you can just see a difference in his activity level and how engaged he is. That, to me, has been the most impressive thing. He's done a lot of different things well. He shot the 3, he's rebounded, he's taken it to the rack, he's finished. He's making the extra pass. He's taking charge of his team out here.
In
and
spurts,
that's something that we've never seen him do.
You're right, but wouldn't you like to see it more consistently? It seems like he does it for a little bit, and then you don't see him for a quarter.
See, I disagree. I don't think he's done that out here. I think that even when, and I'm not even just talking about scoring. Notice I said rebound.
Yeah.
Defensively, he's stayed engaged. He's making his presence felt at all times, even if he's not scoring the ball. And even if he's trying to score and he's not scoring, to me, it's the effort that he's putting forth. With the Thunder, it's if he's not scoring, you're not going to notice him hardly. And if he's not scoring, if the shot's not falling, he's not even going to continue to try to put pressure on defenses. Out here, at least in his first 2 games, it seems like to me, he never let up. Even if his shot wasn't falling, even if he would, go down the lane and lose the ball or run into someone for a charge or something like that, he's putting pressure on defenses, and he wasn't letting up. So that, to me, was the most encouraging thing. That's what I wanted to see out of Perry Jones this week. And in his first 2 games, I saw it. So I'm impressed with him.
Just so you know, I know you're not in town. To match your story today, they put a huge picture of him on the front with future MVP ? So
that's Mitch McGary.
No, well, he was under it with future Hall of Famer. I think that feature's coming Sunday, right?
Did you see he had 101 rebounds yesterday?
I did see, and he had 101 rebounds, like early second half.
So what's his per 36?
It's per 36.
How good at math are you?
Oh, man. I have a calculator in front of me, kind of, on my computer. I don't want to do per 36 right now, though. I do not want to calculate that. I want to talk to you about two other guys. Actually, maybe three, but two I want to group together. Robertson and Hustis. What do you think of the Hustis pick now?
It's still early. I think he's trying to find himself. I think he's trying to figure out how he fits in. I think they could have got him later. Same thing. I said it on draft night. I think they could have got him later. I don't mind the selection. I do have concerns or questions about where they took him. But I think he can develop into a real nice player. I tweeted this throughout the game when they played Philly, and I guess that was the second game, and KJ McDaniels, they were matched up with each other. I know a lot of Thunder fans wanted KJ McDaniels. KJ McDaniels' body frame, he ain't going to get any bigger. Like, he's got that Kevin Durant, Allen Iverson type of frame to where that's who he is. With Josh Hustis, when you see him in a jersey,
he's a
you
monster.
See a big frame. Like, that dude has a huge frame. When he gets with Dwight Daub, the Thunder strength and conditioning coach, he's going to put on a lot of great weight. He's going to fill out, and he's going to be able to physically guard bigger, stronger people. That's what the Thunder's looking for. They're not looking for, hey, we just need another shooter. They got that in Jeremy Lamb. Kevin Durant's one of the best shooters in the league. Although, I've been on the record for a long time saying they need another shooter, KJ McDaniels ain't going to come in and make an impact on this team. He's not going to play over Jeremy Lamb. So they look for the long term, and they're looking at a potential lockdown defender in Josh Hustis. And even though he hasn't played well so far down here, I think that he's got the potential to be that as a 3-and-D guy. Like, if you look at his shot, he's got good form.
It just never goes in.
He shoots it well. It doesn't go. It hasn't gone in. I'll say that. It hasn't gone in here.
Didn't really go in his college career either.
Well, I mean, I don't. I can't really speak to this guy. I mean, I'm not just going to look at numbers and say, okay, he can't shoot. I didn't see him play at college, but I like his form. I like the way it looks. I think he's got the makings of being a pretty good 3-point shooter, and I love his stat, like his physical stature. I think he's got a great frame that you can really build on.
I agree with you in that sense. I mean, you see him out there, you're like, wow, that's a wing. And he's got like a 7'1" wingspan. I mean, he's Stanford's all-time leader in shot blocks, and that's a school that had the Lopez brothers, the Collins brothers. He definitely has some tools. But the thing is, it's just like, okay, you got this guy that he just seems kind of just like Robertson, a negative on offense. And I just think it's kind of strange to have two of those guys.
Well, Presti told me shortly after the draft that they don't look at him the same way. They look at Robertson as being able to guard 2s and 3s. They look at Hustis as being able to guard 3s and 4s. That doesn't sound like a big difference, but I think it is. And, I talked about his frame. He's going to be able to guard bigger, stronger players. So, we'll see as he develops. They got plans for him for the long haul. They're not just going to throw him out there next year and expect him to produce. I mean, that's a pick for, 2, 3, 4 years down the line as the team continues to develop. And you got to remember also, he was a senior. He graduated, so he's an older guy. 3 years down the line, he's going to be 25 years old. Maybe 26. So I think I don't know if they got great value with the pick.
Yeah, it's a strange. I
do think that he can make an impact defensively down the line.
Yeah, it's interesting because he seems like such a project. He is. He's a project. But like you said, he's going to be 23 in December. He's older than 4 or 5 players on the Thunder's team right now, and he's probably going to be living in Tulsa next year, basically. So
yeah, I definitely think he will be. But the draft is about the future. It's never, especially when you're a team like the Thunder, you're picking in the 20s every year. You're not going to get immediate gratification with anybody that you select. So, I don't mind it. I'm willing to wait and see and see how he pans out. I'm interested in seeing his development.
Yeah. No, we'll see. I mean, it's so early to grade it.
Now, what do you think? Now, the other guy you mentioned, Robertson. I wrote a piece for Monday about how the Thunder is warming up to starting. I mean, they're comfortable with him as a starter. What are your thoughts on that? And do you think that he could be an effective starting shooting guard as a replacement for Thabo Cephalosha?
Look, I understand everything he does, and he's got positives. Good defender. You'll feel very comfortable throwing him on the other team's best perimeter defender. He'll get a few backdoor cuts. He'll get a couple offensive rebounds to help you during the game. It's just he can be such a negative on offense that just because his shot can be off and he's not really comfortable dribbling or playmaking. And I just feel like teams, the worry if you're the Thunder is teams they kind of funnel the ball to him, and he's just, especially with the two big playmakers, if they can just pretty much help way off Robertson and not even have any fear that he'll make threes. And any Andre Robertson three, even if he makes it, I think the other team will view it as a good shot. It's tough for me to see him consistently as a starter. We saw it with Thabo. Thabo was still good at defense late in the year. I mean, I know he had a little struggles in the playoffs, but when he just couldn't hit the three, it was such a glaring issue. So it's tough for me to see Robertson as a really, really effective starter.
He wouldn't be my first, second, or maybe even third choice, but I will say that I am warming up to it. I'm warming up to the idea just because he does so many little things. He keeps plays alive. Like, he's not a good offensive player, but he'll keep the possession alive offensively.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's important. And I think the more players you have like that on the floor, the better you're going to be. Like, that's just as valuable as scoring, giving your team another opportunity to score. So there's so many things that I think he can contribute. I'm not sure he's to the point where his positives outweigh his negatives, but I think he can probably get there. I've talked about Jeremy Lamb, throwing him out there and letting him develop throughout the year. Well, I can't say that about Lamb and not say that about Robertson. So I'd be interested in seeing it. I'll say that. I wouldn't want to see it. My first option would be, hey, go get someone. But guess what? C.J. Miles got $18 million from Indiana.
Yeah.
Aaron Aflalo's not walking through that door. He's in Denver.
What I think they
whoever else you want to see, like Mike Miller, probably is not the best option as your starting two guard. Neither is Anthony Morrow. So
no,
I think it'll be tough for them to go out and get someone. I'd like to see them start Jeremy Lamb, even though a lot of people seem to be down on him. But I think he would be the ideal starter. But if they're not going to do that and they just really want him, or they're really fearful of his defense, number one, in the starting lineup, because they don't want guys like Kobe and James Harden,
you know what
DeMar
you do then?
DeRozan,
You know what you
guys
do
like that
then?
going off.
You say, hey, Russell Westbrook, go guard the best perimeter offensive player on the other team.
I feel like there comes a moment in each edition of our podcast where I have to take the time to say, this is where Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook need to be better defenders.
Yeah.
Like, we wouldn't be talking about this if those guys just stepped up and became all NBA-type defenders.
Yeah, ideally, the guard rotation for me next year would be you start Jeremy Lamb, you get a guy like Anthony Morrow in, who I think would be a very good signing, and you get him out in some spurts, and if he's hot, you keep him out there. If he's not, or if somebody's really lighting you up and you need defense, that's when you throw Robertson out there. And then you do a ton of 2-point guard lineups with Reggie and Westbrook, and just like when Reggie's out there, when Lamb's out there, Russell Westbrook, you got to guard the best offensive player on the other team. But guess what? It's going to help the Thunder offensively, and it gets their best players out there. So I just don't think Andre Robertson should start next year. I'd start Lamb if I were them.
Well, and Slater, you know this. I mean, you look at numbers a lot more than I do, and the team really believes that offense isn't a problem.
I know.
And statistically, they've been proven correct. Statistically, it's not a problem. They feel like defense is where they win games. And when they set the tone defensively, when they lock teams up defensively, that's when they give themselves the best chance to win. And they feel like offense will always take care of itself. Where I disagree with that is in the playoffs, where you're starting to see better teams put together strategies, and in a series, they find out who the weak link is.
Mm-hmm.
They expose that weak link. So you can't play those guys, those offensively challenged players, as much as you could in the regular season. So that's when I don't think offense takes care of itself.
I agree. And guess what everything next year's about is playoffs, because if they start Jeremy Lamb or they start Andre Robertson at the 2 guard, we both agree they're going to win around 60 games with either one. I mean, they're just going to win around 60 next year, no matter. I mean, as long as they got the 3 big guys starting. So it's all about the playoffs, and I agree with your point on that. Lamb's just got a higher ceiling, and he's just, I don't know.
He needs to stop chucking out here in Orlando and start getting to the basket, getting to the free throw line, making some plays for others, taking better shots. That's what I'd like to see him do work on this year or this summer, so he can bring it in the next season. So when he is playing alongside Durant, Westbrook, Reggie Jackson, Ibaka, he knows where his shots are coming from, and I think he'd be better prepared to excel in that role as opposed to just, hey, I'm just getting up shots. Let's figure out a way to really work within an offense better.
All right, I want to ask you a couple guys, non-Thunder players, because are you at every game?
No, that ran its course after day one, man. Let me tell you, day one, they lengthened the summer league, right? I mean, I think it used to be 5 days, and they extended it to 6. Now it's 7, and so they cut off a game. They moved the start of the games back. They were in the morning, and now they start at 3. They go 3, 5, 7 o'clock. So the first game was at like 9 a.m. The Thunder didn't play till like 5 p.m. So I was at the gym from like 8:45 to like 10:15 that night.
Oh, getting a nice workout in.
I watched every single game. As much of it as I could, because I had to go interview players. But I did that because Markel Brown, Oklahoma State's own, played in the first game.
Yeah.
Marcus Smart, teammate at Oklahoma State, played in the second game for Boston. And, I wanted to get some Q&As done out of the way with those guys. And then Philly played, I think, the third game. I went to see Nerlens Noel. I was tired of being at the gym, man. He did look good. And I was tired of being at the gym. So, and there's only so much that you really need to see these guys. You just get a feel for them, and then, you say, okay, he's going to be all right, or he's got a lot of work to do. So you don't really need to see these guys every day. So, no, I haven't been at the gym. I'm probably not even going to go Tuesday. The Thunder's off. I got no reason to be there.
What do you think of Markel's it seems like the Nets are getting pretty high on him.
Yeah, I was talking to some of their writers, and the coaches seem to like him a lot. Who knows who's going to be on that coaching staff, but I think they're really high on him. They look at him as a really good defender, potentially, and obviously a knockdown shooter. So
he passed him pretty well too.
He's passing well out here. He's done some really nice things out here. He's rebounding a little bit. He's pushing it on the break a little bit. He's done some good things. I don't think he's satisfied. I talked to him a little bit after yesterday's game. He's not really satisfied with where he is and what he's done. But, I think he is off to a pretty encouraging start.
Yeah. A couple other guys. Shabazz Napier had that awful first day, 3 of 15, 8 turnovers, I think. But he looked really good in the second game. You obviously watched the first game, but did you?
Yeah, I didn't see the second game, but he did look bad in that first game, and he looked overwhelmed. Phil Pressey just Phil Pressey or Paul Pressey?
Phil.
Which one? Phil Pressey. Yeah, Paul, I guess, is bad. Phil Pressey just really, he took it to him. He looked, I don't want to say scared, but he looked overwhelmed against Phil Pressey. And Phil Pressey was out for blood, man. That guy is really trying to stick in the league. I love his game. But Napier definitely didn't look like a first-round pick in that game. But he bounced back nicely from, what I hear and the highlights I saw. But it's going to be interesting, man. I don't think he's a starting point guard, though. Definitely in his first year, I don't think he's who the Miami Heat want to start at point guard.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. James Enos looked really good on their team, and it sounds like Riley wants to to bring him in to pair him with Big Josh McRoberts.
Your boy.
McBob.
Yeah, I don't understand what Miami's doing. I know you want to talk a little bit about free agency. I don't understand. I mean, Danny Granger, Josh McRoberts.
I think
McRoberts
very underrated. I think McRoberts very underrated. I think Granger's a terrible pickup. We saw him in that Clippers Thunder series. He looked done. Just done.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, does it help get LeBron back? I saw Woj tweeted out that those guys signed with under the understanding that they'd be teammates with LeBron. So, I mean, can Riley go into that meeting though and be like, look who we got you, LeBron, Josh McRoberts, and Danny Granger.
And then they were talking about Marvin Williams. Like, what is he supposed to do? Like, Marvin Williams, we talked about it a little bit maybe a couple weeks ago. He's a decent player, but I don't think that's like putting you – none of those guys are putting you over the top for a championship.
No, definitely not. Although I actually think McRoberts will play a lot. I mean, he'll be a rotation guy, 25, 30 minutes. I actually think he'd be a nice piece. Granger, it's basically like Rashard Lewis when they had to play him last year, would be playing Granger. They gotta get some more. But if they're guaranteed, what do you think's gonna happen there? I mean, sounds like your plan to Cleveland's never looked or more likely than it does now.
Like I said, I think he goes to Cleveland, man. I mean, who would you rather play with over the not just next year, but over the next 4 or 5 years? That Cleveland cast or that Miami core? Like that to me is a no-brainer.
Yeah. The thing with, remember after the finals he was talking about, after seeing what the Spurs did to the Heat, he goes, we need more high basketball IQ guys, and we need smarter team oriented players, this and that, and just experienced guys that just basically what the Spurs have. It's tough for me to see him saying that and then 3 weeks later go to a team that's filled with 23, 24-year-olds that, have never made the playoffs. They have zero playoff experience. They've been, quarreling in the locker room all season, and they just had internal issues. I think it'd be a great story if he goes back there. And talent-wise, they have a better roster than he can even possibly put together. But, you're going into a situation where the people around you have never been in a playoff battle. Do you trust that?
Listen, it's not as much about Kyrie Irving and Tristan Thompson and Andrew Wiggins as it is LeBron James. LeBron James is going to make all of those players better. I don't care what team he steps on. It's an instant contender because he's that good.
Look, you're right. It's an instant contender, but do you trust them that when it gets deep in the playoffs and you're playing a team like the Spurs, do you trust these young guys who have never even played in a first-round playoff series? It just seems to me like he needs to win next year.
Later, it's July 8th. If LeBron goes back to Cleveland in the next few days, they got the rest of the summer to make moves and to get him, what we all think he might need in terms of experience, some more shooting, things like that. They have to clear money just to get LeBron. They're not going to have enough to add in.
And
they're working on it. They're working on it by trying to trade Jared Jack. They got Anthony Bennett and Deion Waiters, two guys that they probably don't really need if they get LeBron James.
Yeah.
Those are enticing trade chips. They got picks that they can trade, although I wouldn't recommend it. They tried that before. It didn't work. They didn't have any young players the first time LeBron was there. But this time around, guess what? They're going to be like the 29th or 30th pick in the draft in the first round. So I think they got really good trade chips that they could use and go out and get something else. Like, you can probably get a lot for Deion Waiters.
You want
to know? As people may be on him, like, he can probably get you something that can help you in terms of a veteran.
You want to know the funniest trade chip they have? They have Miami's pick next year from the LeBron sign and trade. So they have Miami's draft pick next year, and if LeBron goes to Cleveland, Miami's gonna suck. So you might have a really good first round draft pick just because LeBron left. and came to Cleveland. So he'd basically say, I'm going to Cleveland, and I'm bringing along now a terrible Miami pick because I just made him terrible. So that'd be pretty funny.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I've always said that I think that's where he's going. I wouldn't say it's a guarantee that he's going, although, have you seen this dude on Twitter reporting? He's not even a reporter. He's just a fan. Have you seen this guy?
Yeah, and he's saying, done deal. He's already told everyone, and everyone knows, and the national media is so far behind.
It's crazy, but, everything he's saying is coming true.
You know what I'm gathering? It sounds like Rich Paul, his agent, is trying to push him back to Cleveland, and LeBron's just not sure yet if that's the way he wants to go, is what it sounds like.
Here's a conspiracy I came up I didn't hear it anywhere else. I'm not going to try to take credit for it and say I came up with it, but I thought of, excuse me, what if the Heat are trying to stall and get Chris Bosh to get out of there so they can get Melo?
Yeah, I actually have seen something like that. People are saying they think Melo's stalling and hoping Chris Bosh goes to Houston, which, by the way, I think that would be a great fit for Chris Bosh. Just so he can go to Miami and be with, Melo, LeBron, D-Wade. That'd be interesting. Well, I mean, it's possible.
Hey, and here's another thing about the Heat. Maybe they're trying to match up with the Spurs. Think about it. Josh McRoberts, Boris Diaw.
Yeah.
Danny Granger, Kawhi Leonard.
Well.
Or Danny Green.
Danny Granger and somebody on the bench on the Spurs, if you're the Heat.
Well, yeah, I know we're down on Danny Granger, but I'm just saying, if he can get back to, half of what he used to be, he might be a pretty serviceable player. I don't think he's a very good defender, but he could be serviceable against a guy like Kawhi Leonard or Danny Green.
Yeah.
At least to make, so you don't get torched. Maybe that's what Pat Riley's thinking. Hey, San Antonio's going to be right back there next year. We need somebody to match up with these types. Or Josh McRoberts, Serge Ibaka. Josh McRoberts can be that Boris Diaw against the Serge Ibaka.
Yeah.
So even though I don't think that it puts him over the top, I guess, the more I think about it, the more I could see how, in terms of matchups, it could make sense against teams like San Antonio or the Thunder.
Yeah, like I said, I actually really like the McRoberts signing. But we should, before we get out of here, we probably got to talk a little Thunder free agency. Powell. Scotty
Brooks, man. Scotty Brooks hadn't been in Orlando all week. And apparently the reason is he's out there trying to pitch Pau Gasol on coming to the Thunder.
Scotty Brooks is
Way to go, Scotty B.
Scotty B's just out there with his boombox in Pau's front yard. Is he still robot talking? Nah.
I hope not. Hey, guess what, man? This new Thunder assistant coach, Darko Rajakovic.
Yeah.
Sounds just like Scott Brooks at times. He's a much better in terms of community. He's got a thick accent, but he's a better communicator. But in terms of the cliches, I asked him, hey, you got an off day tomorrow. I asked him yesterday, you got an off day tomorrow. What do you want to work on? How do you want to use that to get better? Or how do you want to use that to develop the guys? What are your goals? He says, get better.
We must get better.
Robot Scott Brooks makes an appearance.
Offense lead to points. All right. What? So how long? You seem to, from the last podcast to this podcast, you were like, Powell cannot happen last podcast, and now you seem to be even more optimistic than I am that Powell can maybe get here.
Well, I sat back and thought about it, and I'm thinking, he's not coming for $5.3 million. But I started thinking about, hey, how can it get him? And I threw out that thing of the sign and trade with Perk, with the Lakers, getting Gasol in the sign and trade and getting Perk to the Lakers. So that's a way to get him for more money. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think the Lakers probably want to just hold on to their cap space. And if it does happen, I think Pau Gasol's going to have to take $5.3 million.
Yeah.
Which is going to be interesting.
Yeah. Or maybe, they can ship Perks somewhere else somehow. And I guess you got to have the Lakers' help. But
yeah, I still don't. But let me just say, I still don't think Pau Gasol's coming here for $5.3 million. I just